scientists. Caricatures of scientists described to be mad, insane, and sometimes inhuman. Not only have they graced us with their presence in movies and television, but have also become icons of their own in anime. For this spooky time of the year, Anime America wishes to honor those deranged people of science with this Top 10 Mad Scientists of Anime. For this list, we have chosen a wide variety of characters who fit the definition of mad scientist. Characters who hardly have any human interaction, only care for their work, tend to make bizarre creations, and also tend to experiment on anything, whether it be inanimate or human. Let's get crazy together, shall we? Here is Anime America's Top 10 Mad Scientists of Anime. Number 10. Washu Hakubi from Tenchi Muyo. Now, Washu, according to the Tenchi Muyo universe, is technically a goddess who decided to take a human form in order to see if there was a being of higher power compared to gods. When she is human, she is known as the smartest being in the whole universe. Well, that's not too shabby, but what does she do with all of her renowned skills? Creates alternate dimensions and household closets, experiments on some of the residents of the Masaki household, can create any device easily, including a time machine, and can create living, breathing organisms. She is the one who created Kakuto and Ryoko. There's a lot to say about this interesting character, but to sum it up, she devotes herself to science and discovery in order to find the ultimate power of being in the universe. She may be cute and little, but Washu is without a doubt a mad scientist. Number 9. Earl Lloyd Asplund from Code Geass. The very scientist who developed the Nightmare Frame Lancelot, Earl Asplund immerses himself into science and views people as little more than tools. He even regards Suzaku as a mere component of the machine that he pilots. So we basically have an open sociopath who cares only for his machines and will only see the people around as tools he can use to make his machines work. The world could be experiencing an apocalypse with countless lives dying, but would he care? Well, if he didn't care that Lelouch took the throne, what makes you think he would? Earl Lloyd Asplund. Science is his game, and humans are just his pawns. Number 8. Professor Frankenstein from Soul Eater. Frankenstein. I get it. Being a man of science, Dr. Stein sees everything in the world, including himself, as an experiment. From childhood, he often wanted to dissect the people around him, only to be stopped by Spirit. The passion of his never really stopped even in his adult years, when he still tries to dissect many organic life forms, including endangered animals. You see the stitches around his body? That was him. He experimented on himself. You think that's bad? He can get worse, especially when the madness that sleeps dormant inside of him is unleashed. Yes, deep down inside every person in the Soul Eater world lies madness. Stein happens to have a massive amount inside of him that can be unleashed under the right circumstances, so we literally have a mad scientist full of madness that can make him even more insane. Well, doesn't he fit right in here? He may be mad and has a desire to dissect, but when you come right down to it, Professor Stein is one badass mad scientist. Number 7. Rintaro Okabe from Steins Gate. Also known as Ocarine, he is a self-proclaimed mad scientist who likes to assume the nickname Kyoma Hoenn, and often uses this to introduce himself to others. I'm just gonna stick with Ocarine. What's a scientist without passion and curiosity? Ocarine makes plenty of useless things and absolutely must exaggerate everything with his inventions. But when he accidentally discovers time travel, this curiosity sparks for new developments, good and bad. He starts out in the series as a chunibyo, the term given to passionate otakus who love to act out their fantasies and pretend to live more interesting lives than what's given to them. Can't say I blame the guy, but he knows he has to put all of his antics aside and get serious when the world of technology expands to him, and he has to use it to save the ones he cares for the most. You may ask, how does acting like a mad scientist make him an actual mad scientist? But you gotta admit, he tries given the limited resources he has. I mean, come on, he made a time machine using a phone and a microwave. Seriously, does this thing even work? I really shouldn't touch things. Number 6. Well, I got myself a time machine now. Who's next? Dr. Soichi Tomo from Sailor Moon? Okay, but why? He only became mad because he was possessed by an alien, and that was only to save his daughter from dying. Why is he here? Okay, yes, I know Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3 is coming out. Yes, I am aware my favorite Sailor Scout of all time is appearing in Crystal. Oh god. Cyborg Hotaru! Seriously, folks, you are going to see a messed up Dr. Tomo from Sailor Moon Crystal. Shortly after he was kicked out of his field for his dodgy experiments, Dr. Tomo built a new lab and an academy to further his research until a lightning bolt struck the building, killing his wife and badly injuring his daughter Hotaru. Dr. Tomo saved his daughter using what appeared to be a mix of cybernetic and genetic technology. He also implanted a daemon egg inside of her, which carried the essence of Pharaoh 90, who appeared during the lightning strike. So, fine, he used bizarre technology to save his daughter, and she's now possessed by an alien entity. But somehow that wasn't good enough. He then focused on the creation of super beings using a variety of scientific techniques including genetic, pharmacological, and cybernetic processes. Human beings were used as vessels, but he also made several daemons from the eggs he received alone, which turned into the Witches 5. Wait, human beings were used as vessels? Where the hell did he get them from? And if that weren't enough, he felt the need to become stronger, so he experimented on himself as well, creating a fusion of human and alien. Oh, we're gonna see some messed up things in Sailor Moon Crystal 3. So even though the original anime portrayed Dr. Tomo as a loving father, desperate to save his child, he's literally a mad scientist who wanted to create the ultimate superhuman in the manga. Get ready for Season 3, folks. Dr. Tomo is one mad scientist. Number 5. Caesar Clown from One Piece. Known as one very crazy bastard, Caesar is a very cruel, arrogant, scheming, sinister, and overall a very evil person. So evil that he has a bounty of 300 million berries on his head. Change your career, folks. Let's go catch us a bad guy. Never mind. YouTube, I'm home. Caesar is the leading expert on chemical weapons of mass destruction and is a demented scientist who, you guessed it, experimented on children and would drug them with lethal, addictive drugs so they wouldn't run away. He does all of this in order to kill everyone of Punk Hazard just so he could test out his new poisonous gas pet, Smiley. That's Smiley. Say hi, Smiley. All of which he does without a shred of remorse or empathy for his potential victims. A cruel, inhuman scientist who is crazy enough to look like a clown, Caesar Clown just had to be on this list of mad scientists at number 5. Number 4. Renichiro Hagide from Dead Men Wonderland. Let me just say, everyone is crazy here. Everyone and everything is just crazy. So, Wouldn't this just be the perfect place for a mad scientist to hang around in? Here we have Renichiro Hagide, an obsessed mad scientist with one goal in mind: to recreate Shiro's alternate personality, Wretched Egg. Through countless experiments he would perform on his adopted daughter, Shiro developed a separate persona to cope with her suffering, which turned into Wretched Egg, also known as the First Dead Man and the Red Man. Hagide was so obsessed with the Wretched Egg, you could say he fell in love with it. Ew. The obsession got the better of him as he spent all of his life and beyond researching and experimenting the Wretched Egg. And what do I mean by beyond? Well, Hagide in his research found a way to become immortal. In order for him to continue his research thoroughly, he has his memories transferred from one body to another. Doesn't matter if the poor soul is still using that body, he's going to take any body he seems fitting for his research, and prolongs his life while absorbing the abilities of that person he just possessed. What a fucked up person we have here. A mad scientist who will defy death itself just to complete the project he's overly obsessed with. Number 3. Dr. Gero from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. Throughout the history of the Dragon Ball universe, we have seen many different crazy scientists. Out of all the animes on this list, this series has more insane doctors than any else. From Dr. Wheelo, Dr. Mew, and Dr. Raichi. But there is one doctor who is more twisted and diabolical than the others. Dr. Gero. Dr. Gero has had a role in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. Who knows, he could even show up in Dragon Ball Super. I wouldn't be surprised. In Dragon Ball, Dr. Gero was one of the head scientists and founding fathers of the Red Ribbon Army, an organization with a plot for world conquest. His contributions were weaponry and androids for the army, until it was dismantled by Kid Goku. Defeated, Dr. Gero retreated to a secret lab in the mountains where he spent the years scheming and plotting his revenge against Goku. As a master of androids and with the help of his supercomputer, Dr. Gero created not 1, not 2, but 8 new androids. 9 if you include the alterations he made to himself. Androids 13 through 15 show up in the 7th Dragon Ball Z movie, Super Android 13, where OW! Ow! That's a low blow to Goku! Well, guessing from Goten, no permanent damage. In the Android Saga, the Z Fighters have prepared for the appearance of the 2 androids thanks to the warnings of Trunks. But the androids they face were not the ones Trunks predicted. They are in fact Android 19 and Dr. Gero himself, who has made himself an android. Later in that saga, Gero also awakens androids 17 and 18, who, in mad scientist poetic justice, gets killed by his own creation. But being killed by his own creations wasn't going to stop Gero. His computer was diligently working to genetically splice together genes from the greatest fighters in the universe to create the ultimate fighting being, known as Cell. How did he gather these cells to create this monster without anyone noticing? By constructing a small, robotic bug to collect the cells while people fight ever since Goku was young. That's insane! Why not just move on with your life there, buddy? He is so obsessed with revenge that when GT happens, he breaks out of hell to make Super Android 17, just to get killed by his own creation. Again! I think Piccolo can sum up the rest here for me.
It's a darn shame. You could have put this hand to good use. What a waste of technology.
Number 2. You again. Shao Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist. The Sewing Life Alchemist got his license 2 years prior to the Elric visit. His research revolved around chimeras, creatures that are capable of human speech. The first discovery happened around the same time his wife left him and his daughter behind. Oh gee, what a strange coincidence! Ed and Al wanted to visit him so they could use his library and see if there were any clues to turn Al back to normal. As they were studying, Tucker reveals that he hasn't been able to produce anything worthy of his yearly state alchemist assessment and fears that a failure this year will cost him his certification and research privileges. Desperate to his title with no other options, Tucker was finally able to reproduce another chimera successfully. Aw, look at it! It even talks!
That person, Edward. That person, Edward. Big Brother Ed.
Oh, you son of a bitch! No offense, Alexander. Yes, in order to produce chimeras, Tucker has to use his alchemy to forge together a human and an animal. The first success he had was his own wife and previous pet. This one you see here is, you guessed it, his own daughter, Nina, and her pet dog, Alexander. This sick, twisted bastard has no shame in his research. To keep his title and pride as the Sewing Life alchemist, he is willing to use his own flesh and blood with hardly any remorse and will lie through his teeth just to secure his future. To think what could have happened if the Elric brothers didn't figure it out. Would he have resorted to kidnapping? Steal innocent victims and force them into becoming chimeras? Would he have experimented on himself? What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Before we continue forward, here are some honorable mentions. And the number one mad scientist in anime is... You're seeing a pattern here, aren't you? A lot of these mad scientists love to experiment on anything and anyone they get their hands on. Most of the time, they do it with no remorse and no regard to human life. If it furthers their research, they'll do whatever it takes to get the answers they desire to know. I assure you that the majority of our candidates could fit the bill perfectly, but this one takes the cake. The number one mad scientist in anime is, without a doubt, Mayuri Kurosuchi from Bleach. Not really looking like a traditional mad scientist, but just like Caesar, you gotta be mad to look like that. Mayuri is a researcher and personifies the stereotype of the mad scientist. By his early actions during the Ryoka invasion, he is displayed as sadistic and cruel. He sees everyone and everything not as living beings, but as objects to be researched, including himself. He has little respect or regard for most others and was even willing to turn his own men into weapons without their consent in an attempt to capture Uryu Ishida and Orihime Inoue for experimentation. Jeez, that's what you call cruel! He also withheld vital information about the bounce from the other Shinigami in order to capture one as a research subject for himself. As a scientist, Mayuri despises perfection, as he believes that achieving such a state leaves him with absolutely nothing more to strive for, namely imagination, knowledge, and improvements, which would result in nothing but despair. Because of this, he derided Zeroporu Grants for claiming to be the perfect life form.
To men of science like us, perfection is a dead end, a condition of hopelessness. Always strive to be better than anything that came before you, but not perfect. Scientists agonize over the attempt to achieve perfection.
Even when he fights, he considers it as an experiment to test out his own abilities, while he also toys around with his opponents to see how much suffering their forms can handle. You wanted a mad scientist, people? You got one. An insane researcher who devotes his life to research whether it hurts the people around him or not. He's selfish, cruel, and completely obsessed with his research, to which he will never be satisfied with. He's deranged, bizarre, and is without a doubt the #1 mad scientist in anime. Thank you so much for watching this video. This list was made thanks to all the suggestions we got on Facebook. If you wish to help us in future videos or have your own suggestions, feel free to like our Facebook page or email us at animeamericapodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again so much for all of your support, and stay tuned, Anime America.